scholar of cooperative studies, but also actively involved in cooperative initiatives. Professor Kurimoto previously served as a professor at the Institute for Solidarity-Based Society at Honsei University and is now a senior fellow at the Japan Cooperative Alliance. He also held the position of chair of the International Cooperative Alliance Research Committee, giving him extensive insight into global development of cooperatives. So I'm really looking forward to our talk today. And so let's give a round of applause to our speaker today.
Thank you for your introduction. I'll speak about 30 minutes. Before speaking, I shall say something about my own career. I have graduated Faculty of Law of University of Tokyo. But I didn't go to the large companies or large ministries, but I have chosen to work with cooperatives since I was very active when I was a student at the University of Tokyo Co-op, that is consumer cooperation. I have seen here several shops of Taiwan University's Co-op's shop, and I found there are many things in common. And I felt really at home because the campus itself is very similar to University of Tokyo, with red brick buildings and many greens. So I felt really at home. This time I have traveled 2 weeks. This is the final day. Last week I was in India, Kerala, the southern state of India, for a week to take part in the academic conference. And I have given some lectures in the university there. And then I came back to home and spent 2 days. And then I have flown to Okinawa to take part in the conference of the Japan Society for Cooperative Studies. And then I have flown from Naha to Taipei. It's very close. So this time I have spent some time with researchers, young researchers, on the first day, the day before yesterday. And yesterday, I was invited to the Homemakers Union Consumer Corporation, the largest consumer corporation in Taiwan. And then in the afternoon, I was invited to the discussion with the Ministry of Interior, which is responsible for supervising the cooperatives. So I have learned very much from the Taiwan situation. This is my third visit to Taiwan. The first one was just as a tourist 20, 30 years ago, but last year I was here after the conference in Hong Kong, where the professors are eager to encourage youngsters. Now there are many youngsters leaving Hong Kong because of the pressure from mainland China. But those professors in Lin-Nan University in Hong Kong wish to encourage young people to stay in Hong Kong to do something new, for instance, fair trade, or to start some consumer cooperation, or some civic activities. But of course, there are some pressure, but they can start business at least. They can, if they establish some kind of the NPOs or some political organizations, that will be under the very strong scrutiny of the government, Hong Kong government. But doing business, every Hong Kong people can do. So that is what they have thought. That could be one of the options for youngsters to start some business or to start some consumer cooperation, etc. So that was what they thought. I was invited to Hong Kong in May last year, and then this October, I received 30 youngsters from Hong Kong who visited Japan 1 week to see the consumer cooperatives, university cooperative, and farmers cooperative, to know how the Japanese are doing in the cooperative business. So that is what we have done this month. So I shall now move to my slides. So this is how I was involved. I have talked a little bit about that. I was involved by Japanese Consumers Cooperative Union, JCCU, 1973, so 50 years ago. And I have written the 25 years history of JCCU in 1977, and appointed as a manager of the international department in 1990. And then I was appointed as a chief researcher of the Consumer Cooperative Institute of Japan in 1998. And I was elected as a chair of the ICA Research Committee in 2001 to 2005, and the 3 years. ICA stands for International Cooperative Alliance. That is the trade association of cooperatives worldwide. I've taught the cooperatives as a professor of Hosei University in the graduate school on the trade union, consumer cooperatives, and NPOs. So that is for adult, not for undergraduate students. So 5 years I have taught in the graduate school, and we have published a book, Waking the Asian Pacific Cooperative Potential, in 2020, describing the best case studies of cooperatives of various kinds, and to showcase the best practice in Asia, because cooperatives have been born in Europe, in England, then spread to North America, South America, and Asia. But still now, Europe is the center. And there are many scholars who are studying cooperatives, and we are always learning from Europeans, or Americans, or Canadians. But there are a great number of Asian cooperatives which display very important aspects of cooperation, and even better experiences we had. So we have collected those case studies and published the book, English book, in 2020. But unfortunately, that was in the midst of corona pandemic. So it was not well sold, unfortunately, and the review is was very limited. So the publisher, Elsevier, in Dutch, in Amsterdam, it's very famous publisher for the academic journals and books. They are reluctant to do the second book, but we have persuaded. So we shall publish the second English book next year. Later on, I shall talk about this. So next, I shall talk about why is the cooperative movement important in today's economy and society. Cooperatives were set up by workers and farmers to solve their problems by joining their resources in the Industrial Revolution. So cooperatives are the self-help organizations. Rochdale Equitable Pioneer Society in England was founded by 28 pioneers, workers, in 1844, and became the first successful consumer cooperative in the world. So this is the origin of successful consumer cooperation in the world. And then Raiffeisen and Schulze-Delitzsch, both German, started credit corps in rural and urban areas to rescue small enterprises from loan sharks. Everywhere, farmers and SMEs, small minor enterprises, suffered from very high interest of money dealers. We call them money loan sharks. They charge very high interest, and there are a great number of farmers and SMEs who have bankrupted because of that high interest of loans. So to cope with this problem, they established the credit unions or credit cooperatives. Thirdly, French workers, French workers and craftsmen organized workers' cooperatives. So this started in France, and then I've forgotten other important sector, that is agricultural cooperatives, supply and marketing cooperatives, that is playing a very important role in the rural economy. Supply means to buy fertilizers, chemicals from suppliers to do their farming at better conditions, for instance, to kill insects, for instance. And then marketing cooperative, to market their produce to the market. So these supply and marketing cooperative, we call it now agricultural cooperatives or agricultural farmers association in Taiwan. They were grown in Germany and Denmark. So there are several origins of the cooperatives. Now cooperatives spread worldwide with more than 1 billion members. So 1 in 9 worldwide population belong to the cooperative. And then cooperatives are recognized by the United Nations in 2001 when they have published the guidelines for cooperatives for the enabling and supportive environment to cooperatives. That was done in 2001. And the next year, the ILO had adopted the recommendation 193 on the basic elements of cooperatives. And then came the International Year of Cooperatives 2012. And then next year, we shall have the second International Year of Cooperatives. I shall touch upon this later. And UNESCO had adopted the cooperative model as an intangible cultural heritage in 2016. So in this regard, cooperatives are now widely recognized by the UN organizations. Some inspiring examples I shall mention now. You may know about the consumer cooperation or farmers association in Thailand, or credit cooperatives, credit unions in Taiwan. So you can imagine how what is their business and for what purpose they are operating. But I shall now explain some new trends, new waves of cooperatives. One is social cooperatives, cooperativa sociale in Italy. That is cooperatives for community interest. Cooperatives are basically for mutual interest of members, consumers, farmers, workers. But in this case, that is the hybrid of the mutual interest and the public interest. So they have enacted the law in 1991, law on social cooperatives. In the first article, they say the social cooperatives is to promote the community interest of socially weaker section to create the environment for those people can live better life. So that is quite interesting case with community interest or public interest. But they have two types. One is cooperatives for healthcare, long-term care, education. That we can see in many countries. In Japan, we have very strong health cooperatives, both in rural and urban area. But please focus. I'd like to focus on type B, cooperatives involving workers with disadvantages, like mentally ill, psychologically ill, physically handicapped, alcoholic addict, or drug addicts, or former prisoners. They are excluded from the society, and they cannot become the full-fledged workers. And they will find difficulty in finding jobs and lodging. So they were now isolated. Before these types of cooperatives started in Italy, there was a movement of the psychological doctor, Basalia, to abolish all the psychological hospital, no, so to say, for the psychologically ill or mentally ill people. That was really a prison to contain those people. But medical doctor Basalia insists that we should abolish those prisons, and we shall leave those handicapped people live in the communities. Of course, there are many problems. They cannot find the housing, they cannot find jobs, so what should they do? So Italians had invented social cooperatives, especially type B, involving workers with this disadvantage. So this is not a mutual interest cooperative, that is public interest, public and mutual interest. So a kind of hybrid between mutual interest and public interest. And they employ, their membership involves workers, consumers, beneficiaries, and volunteers, they even local communities, local governments as funders to many lenders. So this is a very unique type of organizations, and because they are acting as a public interest body, they enjoy some special taxation relief. For instance, in this case, they don't have to pay the corporation tax, and they can make the agreement with the local government to do some jobs for the local communities. For instance, environmental jobs like garbage gathering, garbage cleaning, and recycling the used bottles, etc. Those jobs had been done by local governments, but they outsourced these services to social cooperatives. But of course, there is a criticism from private sector. That is a violation of competition law, because they have given the priority for contracting with the government procurement. So in this regard, they faced the opposition from private sector. But finally, there was some compromise established. The cooperatives can do such an contract with the local governments as far as the contract amount is less than 20 million euro. So larger contracts they cannot do, but smaller contract, less than 20 million euro, they can freely make contact with local governments to get jobs from the government. So this is what the social cooperatives are doing. Secondly, cooperative childcare in Sweden and the healthcare, elder care in Japan. You may know Viktor Pestov. He's a Swedish-American, originally Russian, as name suggests. He is very famous in the sociology because he had developed the welfare triangle, public sector, for-profit sector, and then communities, households, in between the third sector. That is his idea. It's very famous now. All the welfare studies or sociologists refer to him. Recently, he developed another notion of co-production among professional providers and lay consumers. Originally, he had made a study in Sweden, and he found parents' co-op as consumer co-ops, or workers' co-op, or voluntary organization, or non-profits, are now doing the better service than the traditional municipal organizations. So Pestov had compared workers' co-ops, consumer co-ops, and the voluntary organizations, and municipal organizations, and found the satisfaction rate is much higher in these cooperatives and non-profit than municipal services, because they feel that they are giving services that is very much, they can design their services so that they can satisfy their own professional ethics, professional ethos, and they can satisfy customers or parents. So it was found that after the, some comparative study, the questionnaire was delivered to the parents and workers. And in these two stakeholders, they agreed that the cooperatives are doing better service than the municipal services. And then Pestov had extended this idea to the healthcare and elder care. We have done 10 years joint studies between Sweden and Japan involving the scholars from Osaka University and other researchers in Japan and from Sweden, and found again the co-production, the typical co-production is being made. How? In Japanese health cooperatives, service recipient consumers, general consumers, are making some collaboration with providers, service providers, doctors, nurses, care workers, especially in the preventive health or so-called health promotion. The members or lay members, that is consumers, mostly healthy members, not only the ill people, people with some diseases, but mostly they are healthy, but wish to keep the healthy life in the years to come. So they are very easy, very enthusiastic to learn about their own health condition, to learn about diseases, learn about medical services. And at the beginning, nurses and some service providers had given some information and teaching to lay members, but then they have organized themselves into small groups named Han, Pan or Han, a small neighborhood group with 5 to 10 members living in neighborhood. They gather in one of the one of the rooms, one of the house nearby, and they have learned about health care, and they have done some easy check of their health by using some instruments to gauge blood pressure, and even they checked urine using small cup, paper cup, and contained their urine with paper cup. Then they have put the test paper to gauge salt and sugar of the urine. If they found it's extremely high, they will go to the doctor so that the full-fledged health checks should be done. So this was very good for them to take part in the process of service of healthcare cooperative. And of course, they can do many things as volunteers to help the patients in the hospitals as a volunteer, or to help hospitals, clinics to grow some green, here there is no pot, but we do such a gardening by volunteers. So they are doing many tasks in the clinics and the hospitals and home daycare centers for elderly or nursing homes. So in this regard, PESO found this is a typical co-production of service providers, doctors, nurses, and general consumers. These general consumers are taking part in the process of healthcare services or elderly care services as volunteers or as a member of the cooperative by learning about health and healthcare. So after 10 years, he had published, Pesov had published a book named Co-Production and Japanese Healthcare. And I was asked to give forward. I've given the preface to this book, which contains very good examples and results of the interviewing and the questionnaire. So this contains really academic contents. So Pesov is developing the notion of co-production after Eleanor Ostrom, the American Nobel Prize laureate of woman, first woman who had won this Nobel Prize. Then renewable energy cooperatives in EU, European Union, RESCOP, Renewable Energy Source Cooperative, promotes renewable energy co-ops in collaboration with the EU. So in many countries like Germany, Denmark, Sweden, England, Belgium, there is a large network of renewable energy, of solar panels and windmills, or biogas, etc. Finally, platform cooperatives. It means that to provide the alternative to the so-called platform businesses like Uber or so to say, Airbnb, like this. So there are some such platform cooperatives created by techies, technical persons, like Smart in Belgium, and Airbnb in Germany, taxi drivers corp, many taxi drivers corps in United States meet data for the healthcare information in Switzerland, and Lumio in New Zealand. So now it's growing. Just latest wave of about 10 years. We are looking at these new ventures. Cooperative identity revisited. Cooperative identity is the cooperative essence, cooperative nature. We have established or adopted the global statement of cooperative identity that was adopted about 30 years ago. And then we are now in the process of the consultation, global consultation on the statement of the cooperative identity since 2021. Started in Seoul, Korea, and we will revise the current formulation of statement next year, in the year of the international cooperation. And I have been involved in this process as a member of the consultation group, and very soon we shall decide on this. This identity statement contains definition and values and principles of cooperatives. There are two major definitions. One is the ICA, International Cooperative Alliance definition. According to ICA, a cooperative is an association to meet members' common economic, social, and cultural needs and aspirations through jointly owned and democratically controlled enterprises. So it contains two aspects of cooperatives. One is association, like non-profits. But at the same time, cooperatives will meet members' needs through enterprises, like companies. So cooperatives are a kind of a hybrid between non-profits and for-profit companies. While the United States Department of Agriculture or Agriculture Ministry had another definition: user-owned, user-controlled, and for user benefits. You may recall something from this definition. This is paraphrasing President Lincoln's Gettysburg address. We shall create the government of the people, by the people, for the people. So this is paraphrasing that Lincoln's address in Gettysburg after the Civil War in the United States. It's good to focus on users. That is a merit of the American definition, but I prefer ICA's definition because it describes both two dimensions of an association and an enterprise. So it's a very unique type of organization. And so this dual nature of cooperative studies is divided by Viktor Pestov. One is association school, depending on the association side, mainly sociologists and political scientists use this aspect. While the business school, this doesn't mean the business school of the university, but enterprise school or business school, most of the economics and the management studies is done by this business school. So, research question: how to apply theories to cooperatives? Economics use the transaction cost theory Henry Hansman, property rights theory, Michael Cook, and agency theory, Roger Spear, and management strategic renewal by the Northumbria Group. I've given a paper to this collection of English papers. Thirdly, sociology. Member participation is very deeply analyzed by sociologists, or you may know teal organizations, or self-organizing by Frederick Laloux, American, on the self-organization, and community organizing, initiated by Marshall Gantz in New York. So there are several theories which can be used to analyze cooperatives. Political science, public policy, or co-production by Viktor Pesov. Law, International Handbook of Cooperative Law, I have contributed Japan section. And history, the global history of consumer cooperation, which was published 2017. I have given the Japan section of consumer cooperative. And of course, there are many good masterpieces like Empire and Cooperation by the British, Rita Rose. So there are many scholars studying on the cooperatives. So research question 2. What are Asian or Japanese cooperative models? Very much influenced by the West. The Japanese Industrial Cooperative Act of 1900s, modeling the German law, and Indian Credit Cooperative Societies Act of 1904, given by the British Empire to India as a colony. So, and this law became the prototype of cooperative legislation in all the developing countries. It is called British Indian Pattern of Cooperation. So that was very strong influence, but adaptation in Asia. So one of theory would be the developmentalist state perspective, as most of the Asian countries, Asian region had been colonized by the British, Dutch, French. After World War II, many countries had become independent, but still they were very much influenced. They inherited the top-down approach from the colonial power. So even now, most of the Asian nations have very, so to say, top-down approach or authoritarian approach. It's quite natural. So one of the tools to analyze is developmentalist state perspective. Secondly, norm localization. This was found by Amitav Acharya. He's Indian, but studying in the United States. Every norm is localized. That is his idea. It's true that the Western cooperative model had been very much localized in every Asian nations. So that is another very important approach. And national models, there are many. For instance, in India, IFCO, this is fertilizers cooperative, that was making great contribution to the green revolution by providing fertilizers. IFCO stands for Indian Farmers Fertilizers Cooperative. So this is top-down. But in India, there are two types of bottom-up cooperative, like Amul and Sewa. Have you heard about Amul? That is, or Anand. This is one of the largest dairy company in the world in India, but they are originally very small. In India, each farmer take care of 1 or 2 cows, very small number of cows. That is not industrialized dairy industry. That is really family business, taking care of women, housewives. So they carry those small amount of milk every day to their district dairy place. That is organized by cooperatives. And then from district to state and national and global, they have built up from the bottom such large cooperative. By the way, IFCO and AMUL are the largest cooperative in terms of the impact to the national economy. And SEWA, you may have heard about SEWA, that is half trade union, half cooperative. In India, women, rural women, had no chance to have a job. So they organized those small farmers' wives to create some workshop, to do some handmade products like weaving or how to say patching, etc. And so that is a kind of the union, trade union, but at the same time that are cooperatives to market their products to outside. They are extremely successful, and now they have the bank, Sewa Bank. It's much bigger than the Grameen Bank, Bangladesh. And so they are very successful case from the bottom. So in India, there are, and AMUL had contributed to the white revolution. IFCO contributed to the green revolution. SEWA had organized women to get jobs and income to help their family. Korea, NACF, National Federation of Agricultural Cooperatives, that is really top-down organization controlled by the government. But in Korea, there are many small consumer cooperatives. One of them is ICOOP. Mostly members are women, very active in consumer campaign or environmental campaign. In this regard, they are taking leadership in the social movement. Japan, JA Group, Japan Agricultural Cooperatives, that are the huge organization. Even now, they control more than half of the produce, rice, fruit and vegetables, milk, and livestock. And they are very strong. And 10 years ago, JA had occupied number 1, number 2, number 10 in the 300 largest cooperatives. So that means JA Group is very strong. But nowadays they face many problems of depopulation, especially in the rural area, and they are getting lost and facing very stiff competition. While JCCU Group, Japanese Consumers Cooperative Union, these groups are now the largest consumer cooperation in the world. JCCU accounts for 70% of all European consumer cooperative membership and 30% of all European consumer cooperative business. It means that Japanese consumer cooperation had become the largest consumer cooperation in the world, and domestically, JCCU Group is now number 3 after 7-Eleven and Aeon Group. So very huge organization, but this is really bottom-up organization and often hampered by the policies. So the government is not necessarily supporting consumer cooperation. That is quite different from agricultural sector. Thirdly, HUCOP, Health and Welfare Cooperative, running hospitals, clinics, and daycare centers. They are also placing a very unique model, as I have mentioned, of co-production. And university cooperative, almost all public universities, state and municipal universities, and in most of the largest private universities, cooperatives are organized. And they are providing various kind of products like appliances, personal computer, or clothes, food, and they run cafeteria, and they run bookshops. And nowadays, the growing part is the service provision. They are running, so to say, driving school. They are organizing the driving school for students to get licenses, or they are running the travel agents, and they are running the insurance business. So there are many kinds of businesses. However, they faced serious problem during COVID because all the universities were closed down to prevent contagion. So they lost their job. But they have survived because of very strong support by the university authorities. University cooperatives constitute of all students and faculty members. So the university authorities thought we shouldn't leave the COP to disappear. So they have given various kind of moral support and sometimes financial support to university cooperatives. That is one factor. The other factor would be intercooperation among cooperatives. So those people laid off temporarily went to, they were hired by other cooperatives, especially cooperative supermarkets, so they could maintain their job, their employment. And now it's normalizing, so they are coming back to the campus to work for the university cooperatives. So that is very important lessons we have to learn. Finally, ACU. ACU stands for Asian Confederation of Credit Unions. In many countries, for instance, Korea, Taiwan, Philippines, Indonesia, India, Sri Lanka, they are really grassroots organizations to help farmers, workers, or traders in the wet market. They are really doing a very good job to fight against loan sharks, the private lenders. So these are some of the Asia models. There are many others. So we shall showcase these Asia models. I am now organizing the research conference in Osaka next October, just 1 year later. Date is fixed, October 16th to 18th next year. October 15th is the last day of Expo Osaka, International Exposition of Osaka. I'm not sure if it is really held and succeed, but anyhow, we shall organize this conference October 16th to 18th. And the venue is Kansai University. Kansai means west of the checkpoint. So all the western part, Kyoto, Osaka, Nara, these belong to Kansai. And Kansai University, private university, is giving us the venue of the conference. So Kansai University Umeda campus, that is just 5 minutes walk from Umeda Station. It's a very good location in the middle of Osaka. And the registration fee we kept very low, just 10,000 yen. It's about 1/4 or 1/3 of ordinary registration fee, because we wish to for the young scholars to take part. So we kept the price very low. So this money will be used to lunch and tea break cookies, and then we have to pay to the students who will take care of us when we go to the international conferences. You will bring with you a memory stick containing the presentation. So the students will help you to install your slides into the computer and then to show on the screen. So those small money is used by this registration fee. And excursion, we organize visiting Osaka cooperative, consumer cooperative, agriculture cooperative, and cooperative hospital. And we shall charge 5,000 yen for lunch and bus. And this is to follow up the IYC 2012 Venice conference as an all-star game, focusing on European Union and North America. Really, very famous celebrities, scholars were invited, like Henry Hansman. There are many American such scholars. So to finance their trip to Venice, they have charged very high registration fee, 50,000 yen. So I've given up to go there. Instead, I went to Berlin, which charged very low compared with that. So, but this at that time, that was very great success. And there are many good papers published or presented, but that is focused on European and North American cases. This time, we wish to focus on Asian and Western cooperative models to compare East and West. That is my intention. And to encourage young and emerging researchers and scholars and experimenting handmade conference through volunteering. So we don't give the reception party gorgeous dinner because it's very low fee. Instead, we organize some matching of visiting scholars and Japanese scholars going together to have some dinner, not necessarily very high, expensive, high-price dinner, but rather popular food. If you have experienced Japan, especially Osaka, you may know okonomiyaki or takoyaki or fried noodle, etc. Such very cheap food, but tasty. So we will arrange such encounters between Japanese and foreign guest scholars. The hidden objective is to internationalize Japanese scholars, very much domestic. They never write and speak in English. Only me doing that. In the legal science, political science, economics, sociology, management, history. But other than me, no one do that. So I encourage the young Japanese scholars to open to the world and to get acquainted with the scholars from outside, from Asian countries, from Western countries, so that they can expand their scope, their vision, so that they can continue a good job in the corporate studies. So it is aiming at creating the researchers network in Asia and globe. We have published, as I mentioned, the book on the Asian cooperatives, Waking the Asian Pacific Cooperative Potential. That means most of the cooperatives in Asia are sleeping still. So we wish to awaken them because they have very good job, and that is not known by Western people. So to showcase that those best practices. So on this occasion, we shall launch the second book, Exploring the Asian Pacific Cooperatives Theory and Practice. That is the title of the second book. And we shall officially launch this book on this occasion in Osaka. And out of the papers presented in this conference, we shall edit the third English book, possibly in 2 or 3 years. So we can develop the network of the researchers in Asia and global level. So that is what I wish to accomplish by organizing this conference next year. So I do hope you can join us. It's very easy from Taiwan to come from Taiwan to Osaka by low-cost carriers. There are many. So I expect there are many Asians. There would be more than 10 Korean scholars, and there are some from Hong Kong, from Indonesia, India, etc. Of course, from Europe, there would be some. I'm not sure how many will really come, because now the fare is very expensive because of the Ukrainian war. Now the flight between Far East and Europe, it takes 14 hours instead of 11 hours, 3 hours more. And fare is very high now because of the war in Ukraine. So I'm not sure how many persons will come to Japan, but all the members of the Scientific Commission are my friends. So I asked them to come to Asia, to come to Osaka to get acquainted with Asian scholars. So that will be benefiting both, because Asia is said to be the central part of the 21st century. 21st century could be Asian century. It was said many times, but I'm not sure if it really become the Asian century because of the geopolitical confrontation between US and China, and there are many setbacks of the democracy in Myanmar, Thailand, in many places. So I'm not so optimistic, but in any case, the most populous region is Asia, and Asia should exercise and showcase the best practices to the world. That is my intention. So I do hope many of you can join us in Osaka. Thank you for your attention.
Let's thank Professor Kurimoto for his wonderful talk, introducing a lot of different types of cooperatives around the world. It's not only eye-opening, but also it inspires us to think about how to study cooperatives academically. So we have about 30 minutes left, and let's open the floor for discussion and QA. And anyone want to ask the first question? If not, I will I will ask the first question. So I found it's very fascinating to have many different new initiatives, particularly those you called social cooperatives that are supporting a lot of different purposes for common interests and particularly care. So And then there's another type that you say platform cooperatives, but I'm really interested in like how different these cooperatives are, to those platform economies that we are more familiar with.
Very good question. Yes, now there are many platform businesses. That was became possible because of the technological revolution of mobile phones and PCs. So everywhere we can call taxi now, and those platform business, Uber or Uber Eats or Airbnb, have been developed very rapidly, and they have dominated the market of this kind. But they are private companies. They are owned by entrepreneurs, by the shareholders. So those who work for platform cooperative, for instance, cyclists or car drivers, they don't own that company. So all the profits go to that shareholders. So to challenge this platform business using or exploiting gig workers, we developed the cooperative business of platform. That is platform cooperatives. So technical people, techies, had introduced such kind of the new types of cooperatives in these 5-10 years. They are very new, only these 10 years. And there are very few literature on this, but they are now collecting those cases from all over the world and publish some books. And they insist that we should show the alternative to such an one-take-all business of Uber or Airbnb, so that real workers or the homeowners can benefit from that technology by owning the cooperative. And owning cooperative, they can have a vote. They can decide how to do the business. But in case of platform companies, the Uber drivers or the people who rent their rooms have no say, no voting rights to the company. So that is quite different. So that is shareholder model and cooperative model, quite different.
Are there any other questions?
Thank you very much for Professor Kurimoto for a very wonderful, thorough, and global introduction to co-op. So you mentioned earlier that you have been visited Homemaker Union prior to come to your NTU. And as you probably know that the Homemaker Union started their co-op by learning the Japanese example. But right now, they're the biggest, as you said. They have like 80,000 family as their member. The biggest, but it's still compared to Japan, it's just nothing, right? And also a few years ago, they just started a co-op for green energy. My understanding is that their member is just a few hundreds, so still very limited. So can you give us some explanation why that cooperative movement in Taiwan is so underdeveloped, at least compared to Japan? Thank you very much.
I don't know the history of Taiwan, but I have read some books on Taiwan, especially after the democratization. And I learned very much. You have won the democracy by your own. It's great. which we didn't. Japan was given the democracy by Americans because of the Japanese surrender. So it's a pity for us that the democracy is not deeply rooted in the Japanese society. Still, very much authoritarian government rules Japan, although now the LDP had lost the election this Sunday, but still they are in the power. Throughout the history after World War II, except for several very short period. So in this regard, political scene is quite different. And in Taiwan, you have very strong competition between two major parties, and sometimes you change the government. It's very good. So that political parties are competing to gain the people's support by their policies and the results. So in this regard, I see Taiwan, Korea, Philippines, after the democratization, you have done many good things. But of course, in Taiwan, cooperatives are very small, and compared with Japan and Korea, because of, I suppose, the history before the democratization, there is very little movement to set up cooperatives. So still, cooperatives is not known by many people, but I think homemaker unions, consumer cooperatives are operating throughout Taiwan. That is very good to showcase what the cooperatives are doing. Otherwise, we cannot imagine the real shape of cooperatives. So in this regard, it's very good to have homemakers union. But I heard that there are some university cooperatives, but many have failed. Here I could see this morning several shops. That's very good, very common with us. And I was also trained in the University Corp of University of Tokyo. And after graduation, I have chosen the job in the Japanese Consumers Cooperative Union, and I have no regret about that. And I've learned very much from Japan and other countries' cases. Of course, there are some reasons why we could develop consumer cooperation in Japan, for instance, in Japan. That is because of the initiatives of housewives like Taiwan. Housewives were not satisfied with milk products marketed by the major dairy companies. They contained colorings, flavors, even sugar, mixed with skim milk, very low price milk. But it looks like so fancy. But they are not real milk. They are, so to say, gimmick. So housewives didn't like them. So they decided to go to the nearby dairy farmers to buy pure milk directly from farmers. And such kind of the buying clubs, they are called 10 yen milk movement. 180 cc milk are sold at 10 yen. So 10 yen milk movement by housewives is a prelude of the consumer cooperation. Those buying clubs of housewives have evolved to consumer cooperation. We call it now citizen corps because they are mostly composed of women, housewives, or citizens. And in this process, campus cooperative had played a very important role because they have limitation. Every 4 years, students turn over, and so and they are limited within the campus. So their development is very much limited. So to remove this barrier, they went to the nearby local communities to help local consumers to create consumer co-ops. That was really beginning in 1960s. 1965, there were 3 consumer cooperatives had been created by housewives with the help of university cooperative. For instance, Hokkaido University helped local people to set up Sapporo Citizens Co-op. Now it is the 2nd largest co-op. In Saitama, next to Tokyo, Saitama University Co-op and Tokyo University Co-op had helped local people to create Saitama Co-op. That is now one of the largest co-op. Thirdly, in Kyoto, Doshisha University Co-op had helped local people to create Kyoto Co-op. And finally, Seikatsu Club was created the same year, 1965, by housewives, but in this case, helped by trade unions. So a little bit different from other 3s. So in 1963, these 4 types of cooperatives, 4 citizen co-ops had been created. Then this kind of cooperatives, citizen co-ops, had spread throughout the country. So in each prefecture's capital, they have the citizen co-ops. So that is what we have developed in Japan. So finally, I shall sum up. That is to meet housewives' strong wish to get unadulterated pure milk from local producers. So that was really beginning, and we could develop this type of business by developing the alternative food. We call it co-brand goods with lower food additives and without any chemicals, and as much as possible, the natural food we provide. That is one way of doing business. Secondly, we have organized the direct transaction with farmers, consumer, producer, direct transaction. We call it sanchoku. Sangyon san, and chok's direct. So sanchoku, which became the international term. In the United States, community supported agriculture, CSA is really sanchoku, and it is called teikei in Japanese. That is used in Switzerland, the same kind of business. That is direct transaction between farmers and consumers, or fishermen and consumers, to bring these two separate identity into close, to understand each other better, and to set some criteria of the products. There are 3 principles. One is to know who produced that produce. Secondly, the consumers should know how to grow that produce, how much they use chemicals, how much they use or they don't use hormones to grow animals. So, and thirdly, there should be some communication between farmers and consumers. So farmers visit consumers in the urban area to tell how it is difficult to grow vegetables without chemicals. So consumers can understand. And while the consumers visit the site of the production to know the farmer's situation, how it is difficult to grow rice without using chemicals. They have to manually remove the grass. So by doing so, they can understand they can increase mutual understanding. That is what we seek. So by doing such an original alternative food and sanchoku, the direct transaction, we could develop our business step by step.
Professor Kurimoto has a very tight schedule, so he has to catch a flight later, and so we probably have to end on time. And I want to take as many questions as possible at this time. So maybe we should take a few more questions and you answer it all together. Would that be okay? Okay. So other questions? Okay.
Thank you, Professor. That was really, really interesting. I have two questions, if possible. But first one is more sort of generally, what have you observed to be the challenges of having the cooperative movement take off? It might be very local in different places, but what can we do basically to inspire more of a cooperative movement in the world, which we really need right now? The other one is more of a personal question, just like how did you first become interested and decide to focus on cooperatives? Because it was, I don't think, was it already big back then? I don't think so, I don't know. So just curious about your own journey.
The second question I couldn't understand.
Oh, the second question is about your own journey. Like, how did you first become interested and decide to focus on cooperatives?
Hello, thanks for your sharing, and I have a question about, so if it's a cooperative, if it starts from local, and I just wonder if the cooperative has the ambition to expand their scale to global, would you still call it a cooperative? Because I think it might lose the balance between non-profit association and profit-oriented business or enterprise. Yeah, this is my question.
We can take a last one, if there's
any. Thanks, Professor Kurimoto, for your excellent talk. And I'm a PhD student in this department, and my research is focused more on prison. So I have a very narrow question because I also knew that some prison cooperative in Taiwan, but their function is more like to provide like the snacks, the soap, or anything that the incarcerated people needed in the correctional facility. But comparing, I want to know, do you know more about like Japanese condition? Because as far as I know that some of the prison rules in Japan are more strict. Like they don't have, because in Taiwan you can have an instant noodle or some snack. If you have money, you can buy it. But I heard that in Japan, their food in the prison are like regular. So I mean, in that case, is there any prisons cooperative in Japan? Or if that is the case, how could this is possible? Because some of the prison cooperative in the world are trying to help the incarcerated or the formerly incarcerated people to to prevent recidivism or something. Yeah, so I just want to know more about Japan. Yeah, thanks for your talk again.
We got a lot of questions.
Okay, thank you. Yes, challenges. The Japanese consumer corporation had passed through many challenges. There are many challenges. One is the institutional challenges, or so to say, impediment to the development of cooperatives. Consumers Cooperative Act was enacted in 1948. when the clauses of total ban of non-member business was introduced. Now in the world, only Japan and the Korean Consumer Cooperative Act has such a total banning, total prohibition of non-member business. Why? Small retailers wish to reduce competition from large retailers, so they have succeeded to enact the law such as department store law, large-scale retail stores law, to prevent those large-scale operators to open their supermarkets or department stores to give some influence to the local businesses. So they are very keen to lobbying the government and succeeded to enact very protectionist legislation until 1986. So, and they have seen cooperatives as potential competitor. As a matter of fact, cooperatives were very small when they have raised these questions. It was very small, but they try to limit any kind of the possibility of growth of consumer cooperation. So they have succeeded to promote such an anti-competition laws, and from time to time they have made some campaigns, anti-cooperative campaigns against consumer cooperation. And that was followed up by the ministry, by the Chamber of Commerce. So that became a very political issue. So consumer cooperative have to pass very difficult time, legally speaking. But they succeeded to overcome these obstacles by inviting all customers into membership. So if they become members, they can buy as a cooperative. So that is one question. Secondly, where Consumer Cooperative Act didn't give, even now, it doesn't give the license for credit business. Only consumer cooperatives cannot do the banking business. Other cooperatives can do. But to solve this question, to remove this impediment, the cooperatives had asked members to invest more, pay more share capital to cooperatives, so that cooperatives can run their business out of those capital. So in many cases, in the home delivery business, every time the members write their orders on the paper, there is a place to put the number of amount of share capital. So many cases, members put 1,000 yen per month. So that amount, that money became the share capital of that member. So members' account. So in this sense, they can solve the problem of lack of credit business. Nowadays, on average, 30 million members, 1 in 2 Japanese are the members of the consumer corporation. They have 30,000 yen as per capita, per member, as a share capital. It's extremely high compared with the United Kingdom, the original country of the consumer corporation. In England, their share capital, member share capital is just £1 or 200 yen. So very small compared with 30,000 yen in Japan. That is per capita, per member. So in this regard, we have solved these problems. Of course, we are facing another problem, that is competition from large-scale retailers, but because of the commercial legislation, we cannot open the new supermarkets. But instead, we have consumer cooperatives have taken the home delivery to Han groups, 3 or 5 members, small neighborhood groups called Han or Pan in Chinese, to deliver the products. And then they will divide this group order into the individual orders. So that is what many co-ops have done. Then they have invented the individual home delivery to individual members, not to the group, because of the growing number of women working outside to help the budget, household budget, especially to pay the hiring education cost of their children and the housing cost. So many housewives went to the job. So there is no one who take care of the joint buying, group buying. And secondly, young people are more individualistic. They don't like to be bound by a group of Han groups. So that is why consumer cooperatives have developed the home delivery to individuals. So nowadays, about 70% of cooperative business is done through home delivery. And amongst these home delivery, 50% by individual home delivery, 20% to the groups, and another 30% are done by stores. So that is how we, the consumer cooperative, had solved the challenges. And then now we are facing the same problem of depopulation. Since 2010, Japanese population is going down. The same with Taiwan, China, Korea. And so how to cope with this depopulation and decaying local communities, especially in the local communities, rural communities. We have to cope with this problem. So in many cases, agricultural cooperatives are withdrawing because those rural shops are loss makers, making loss. But instead, consumer cooperatives are now delivering the products to those isolated areas, or they are sending mobile shops, or they are running the shopping bus free of charge for those isolated consumers. So that is how they have solved these problems. Still, we have many problems, and we have to cope with them. That is one question.
We have enough time for all the questions,
yes,
so would you like to say a few words to respond to the rest of the questions, like very quickly,
Yes,
so that we can catch up?
Some other questions. Could you repeat it very shortly?
Is there any prison cooperative in Japan? As prison cooperative, that for the institution of prison that make the incarcerated people to buy their food or their anything they wanted inside the facility. Yeah. Because I cannot Google any, so sorry for that.
It's a very difficult question. Many people are struggling to increase members' patronage, members buying at co-ops. Of course, there are many competitors, 7-Eleven, convenience stores, department stores, or supermarkets. So always there is very strong competition. So how to solve this? That depends on the education of membership. Why you are members? we question. Because, and of course, it depends on the members. Some members may wish to have the safe products, safe milk, for instance. Someone may wish to have the friends. So it depends on the members. There are many incentives or reasons to become member. So that is what is most important is the corporate membership satisfied he or her desire to do their lives. So in this regard, the communication between the corporate and the members and among members are very important to know the advantage and the benefits of the cooperatives so that they will come to co-op instead of going to the competitors. Of course, it is a very long-lasting question, and we cannot say we are really good and we are winning the competition. We cannot say that. Every day, the situation is changing. Okay?
Unfortunately, we are running out of time, and so if there are any further questions, maybe we can contact Professor Kurimoto in email. And so that's the end of today's talk, and let's give another round of applause to thank our speaker today. Thank you.